below the species value nature system. We have the entire species fact treatment nature, originally progressed as a breaching roles. For example, with poverty in Hartford, which is very small, it had too many generations exploiting it. For example, with the term bullying, using that as a fact treatment, where they're not letting peaceful counters to aggressions that were our originally internation shared here, form of predator, fact treatment natures, lie progression, cover-up natures. Ones that, so we have bullies calling other people's bullies, other people bullies. These are people evidence fabricating offensively with databases, interbranch, and with the areas, intercampus, and with the sciences, interscience, and then with the industries, through original and then through progressed areas, original, progressed, criminal internation persuasions, but not sourced by one nation. This is in nature and a method of organized crime that has modern nations juxtaposes standing predator, lie progression, cover-up natures. See, it's UN. The UN's going after North Korea. And North Korea is blaming us because the way they're doing it, fact treatment nature. In other words, we're all on different pages. No one's watching but the surface. That's why the president is saying fake news. Because it's also fake news that is multi-front. So you have to treat it with a quality of fact treatment nature as correlation, needing to discern radical value. In other words, for example, the radical correlation. This is ratiocination, not being let by pseudo-ratiocination, worse than pretended ratiocination, pretend to believe ratiocinations. We have physical delusions, worse than being propagated through our schools, and through our branches, standing recorded physical delusions, physical delusion propagation roles, hurt conviction nature roles, bullies, claiming others to be bullies, and needing to sequence shift, and having done that through time. We have recorded standing predator courts with streams of them every day, with natures of crime juxtaposed, not unorganized, but per branches, only understanding it through a nature they are, realizing their needs to be able to hide personal, group misprision, and top-down fact racket roles. Top-down on the president, forced by fake suit and tie nations all at once, hundreds of nations, time and positions, at the same time by bottom-up natures, everyone from any kind, at all positions, worse than entertaining. Justifications and physical delusions regarding a practicality to fact treatments into formality, our formal impositions. It's not real. There are standing, recorded, inherently actively and progressively, inherent active and progressive impositions with the intercity with the campuses from the same source, keeping it blamed on all other consciously per same crime method, a breaching method. And we can't deal with this without understanding value as a nature, in ourselves as a fact treatment nature. In other words, we can't go by who's. In other words, they have a competition. It's not competition when you're when the way they made jobs to make breaching rules. The way they used the jobs with slavery, which was upon all pigments, but it made the people with white pigment have the easier job of slavery and a better sophistication, but still a breached sophistication of fact treatment nature, education, interscience, and relying upon that categorically engineered. For example, with the forced glorification of the recorded fact treatment nature, slavery, and extortion of our founders. Anyway, in other words, they had this standing. They had everyone standing criminal insidiousness nature roles, needing to be healthy and playing on other anyways, because of an organized crime breaching method that took over the sciences by first drawing areas into chaos, hurt reactions, then only letting the insidious counters to tactically degraded internation sciences that had originally revealed English, that had originally really revealed metaphysics, that in other words, which is the process of, which is one nature in the Trinity that is in demonstration of a semi-nature that is part of that. Metaphysics is a semi-nature. Physics, Earth's value, in particular, our own, Earth is a semi-physics, as the value of immediate space nature to the rest of the identity of space, which is a clear body of value. And this is why we have a clear body of value as our own identity. Everything is in demonstration of the only inherent, active, and progressive course that is the value of the finite, and that is the value of overall progressively. In other words, a progressive value overall. You'll only continue to stay progressive onto itself. And the inherent value of the bond to matter in immediate space, Earth's value, that will only stay progressively value onto that and onto its identity, the full identity coming through all parts of space at once as its only natural system. And then we come to body of value. We're in an active phase. The inherent phase is here as long as the active phase is. And so is the progressive phase, which will only stay positive. So when we're not positive to our own identity while having the phenomena of it, it's that identity is only by and as the value of this nature that is beyond our control, just like our body's temperature needs. This system shows evolution or de-evolution. And because we haven't followed it since semi-ancient times, and because of how we haven't followed it, because it was set up to cultivate people already as justification natures, criminal insidiousness natures, engineered to blame it on another, invested needing to blame it on another, as a bridge fact treatment nature. This is what all we have to do is admit fully and completely value in its nature. It has nature. In other words, the environment is a value, but it's only value because of its nature. And its nature is one cell within the body of nature. And so Alpha and Omega are revealed as values within the nature of English and with and beyond the nature of English is the Trinity, in other words, its body of value, and what extends on both sides, which they call the shield. What do they call it? The magnetic shield of the Earth. Where one nature, for example, then that's one nature, and then the rest of space is the rest of a cell body, cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall relationship attached, because everything is in demonstration of value and value nature relationship to itself as nature, as a clear body of value, as the only semi-positive that is positive, and it's only semi and present here. The complete nature of identity is only semi-present with immediate space nature, only through its unchanging nature of relationship to itself, inherently, actively, and progressively. So all space is with the phenomena of the means to progress its value, as is reflected by the cause and as the identity of evolution. Positive value nature progressions, causes of evolution, clear means. And when this is not let, lethal hadis. This is the inherent relationship, the positive's identity as space. Space is identity, Allah. It pushes it away. Now, Jesus Christ is a positive relationship to positive self. At the same time, as a body of consciousness, in other words, a body of metaphysical value, and as a body of physical value. And this is the halo, radical correlation. When they are they are the same course together. Because this judges, this will only stay progressive unto itself no matter where it is. That's why it causes, when we're on that course, it causes evolution. There's no hate, the comparison nature. The ancients understood that comparison nature is negative value nature. Can't justify itself and defend us from. Well, this is what they didn't understand. What they couldn't imagine, that humanity would could forget how to make evolution, and or could forget that there was only one system, and the needs as a fact treatment nature to understand that there's only one space, there's only one nature to it. In other words, there's one system, because that nature is inherently, actively, and progressively in diffusion through it as a quality. We are a quality of diffusion, plus or minus. And each plus is a trinity. And we'll reveal this with the snow people in the halos of correlation. In relationship to what really is the cause of the magnetic pole. And we're going to show how we can use understanding English, mastery of English, to demonstrate predicate value and its relationship to positive. It's positive, and its relationship to positive negatively with the predicate act. And in the nature of organized crime, we don't even have to be lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. Since semi-ancient times, just reminds, these are ancient, criminally re-engineered sciences. That means treatments, fact treatments. That means fact treatment nature. That means, so when you make fact treatment nature justified as a criminally engineered criminal insidiousness nature, it means fact treatments are going to be ill. It means lie progression, standing lie progression cover-up natures. Only that realized trained internation sciences, shared fake identity, needing contrast natures, needing to blame and bring down, all with the passions and with emotions, not to honest sequence treatments, not with original progressed criminal databases, relationships, uncharged, worse than uncharged, exploited in relationship to this. So we have not science let and have it worse than for just personal misprision. Everyone's forced to roles entertain fake news because it's fake sciences. So everyone's a victim predator. It's not personal. Taking that personal is not science, pseudoscience. That makes it more of a fight. Then they want litigation to settle this. That's what I'm trying to complain about. So we have to be able to complain outside of court. Inter natures of courts at once were recorded criminally progressed, inherently sick, inter-science, and with the areas, inter-campus, inter-nature of campus. Hospitals are campuses. They're on campuses. This is an ancient system. Fire departments on campuses, the ancient criminally re-engineered system. The slavery laws on our founders, the fact treatment, slavery, and extortion of our founders, was forced to pretend theater. England wasn't alone. England was, and that was an identity that was tactically cultivated bigger than England. Spain's was cultivated tactically bigger than Spain. France was cultivated tactically bigger than Spain. At the same time, when these nations, even kings, were cultivated as czars, only let through areas criminally re-engineered, criminal insidiousness, then that to categorically arrange the sciences, criminally fact treatment racket roles, then the businesses, in other words, the businesses of agencies, predatory fact treatment natures. This is why there has been no evolution. We have had no science, and we've had what is claimed science as a fact treatment racket role. In other words, a role abridging needs for quality fact treatment nature that's not playing tricks with facts. In other words, science uses positive's identity. There's another reason the ancients couldn't believe that we would figure out the importance of Allah's name. This is for science. This is before we get to the Quran. But before any of the controversial parts of the Quran, which are in relationship to the king's extortion, and which are, in other words, as a fact treatment nature, in other words, in relationship to Donald Trump's and Barack Obama's and Bill Clinton's and everyone's before, Jimmy Carter. All these people were only realized to uncharged originally, and worse than uncharged, entertained, force shared, policed, force shared, trained by our enemies. Our founders, extortion, and recorded fact treatment nature slavery, and recorded forced theater, otherwise they'd see who was behind the revolution. That's why they had everyone with laws like that. That's why they had the zoning laws like that. Not just for then, but for long-term breaching methods. That's why the houses in Hartford and an area were designed to be converted into 2-3 family houses. And like this. And with the fire hazards and stuff like that. With our denatured relationship to nature, with water underground all polluted everywhere, nothing. And even where the nature is nicest, all landscape theater, all tactically denatured. In stages, because then they cultivated everyone to blame it on other things, because even without even realizing, because that's all they remember. They tactically denatured the Native Americans' means, the foods and stuff like that, the landscaping. They forced them to force shared police market systems. Now that means that now they have casinos. In other words, they're force shared to agreements to not give up their undercovers and stuff like that. Those things are connected to areas too. And what was original, in other words, everyone's a victim predator by type per what was trying to be against that as a victim predator, as that predator, as that breaching nature, as that breaching role. Colonization was engineered to stay dissolved, functional to the fact treatment organized crime breaching method that we're gonna counter. But we need quality fact treatment. We need to be able to demonstrate. Right now, it doesn't take money. It takes clear means. Otherwise, that just brings us to another measured extent and then cultivated abridged fact treatment nature. There's a reason our founders need this addressed. They're saying, until we have the perfect world, let defend it, we're not going to see evolution. That's why they put religion as a right in other words, we'll examine how they had to play fact treatments, pretending they were full out for it, but directed to it with the American Revolution. They were tricked to it. In other words, they were forced to it by what had everyone extorted so much. Also to those standing theaters invested too in as roles with it, so they could see when obviously people are eventually gonna communicate their ways out of it. The way there's only one way out of it, but what they did was make everyone only capable of doing it ways, and then they cultivate that further, invested as breaching nature and roles, as only realize predatory comparison natures. Only realize predatory litigation nature's voice. Never legal nature's voice, but in its name. In other words, pseudo-ratiocination has been in the name of ratiocination since criminal reengineering. of the nature of humanity through the sciences. First two areas first. Original nature of internation sciences of Campus Marcius. It was not an identity one, two, or three ways, but three ways. In other words, one positive. In other words, as Rome, as Etruscan Rome, and as America. This is one of the positions we're going to take, counter positions and positions, so we can counter, and so we can discern an invisible but standing body in nature called criminal insidiousness, a certain kind of theater. And we're going to see how this was cultivated to every science, and how justifications of that are only capable of worse than expert lean, of mission creep. Mission creep is a terminology to make up associated with phenomena not just with the world wars, but with what had George Washington and an extorted, slave factory treatment nature with the French general, and only to